in KZN. And if you do not speak isiZulu and with that kind of accent, some people would look down on you. What's up with that? What is up with it? Now we have a super race among us. We have a super tribal entity among us. Everyone else is below you. It's beneath you. It cannot be. In Northwest, and then you'd say, no, we don't want Amazulu in Northwest. We can't have that. We can never, ever have that. And we should never, ever tolerate that. And I wanted to ask you, have you ever encountered it? Maybe you went to work in KZN, in the Eastern Cape, and you were from Joburg, and you felt that subliminal discrimination of sorts based on the language that you speak, where you come from, and not being a black native of that particular area. Has that ever happened to you? Guys, we can't tolerate that. We shouldn't. It's as bad as racism. And I think the Human Rights Commission needs to take severe action against that lady and anyone else who thinks that is okay, simply because someone is from Limpopo and is working in KZN. This is our South Africa. This is our South Africa. This is our country, all of us. If you speak isiZulu, you come to Soweto. You speak isiXhosa, you go to Qwaqwa. That is still okay. This is our country, all of us. So I want to hear from you what you think of that. And I want to test the level of rage against this as opposed to the level of rage against racism. I know if it was racism, we would be pulling our hair. All of us would be going crazy. Where's that person? This is where she works. We must get her fired. Let's go. I think consistency as far as principle is concerned is very necessary. We must all be enraged about this. Good. Enough of my venting. What's coming up at 10 o'clock? Apparently, the amount of money spent on betting, on waging bets, amounted to 1.5 trillion rands between 2024 and 2025. So much that other South Africans are compromising buying groceries and feeding their families. They'd rather use that money to bet on online betting activities as opposed to feeding their families. And you'd understand that, I suppose, an element of hope and thinking that tomorrow will be better than today, and today is not as bad as yesterday. And you're thinking, I might just get it. I just might get it. I might be lucky and our lives will change. So as opposed to buying bread for 20 rands, let me take this 20 rands and bet on these numbers, and I could walk away perhaps with 4,000 rands, and I'd put some decent groceries on there. And it's desperation. We can't just look at one element of that. So we'll look at that just after 10 o'clock. The new NDPP begins work, and we'll speak to Lebogang Ramaphosa, the Executive Director at Corruption Watch, on that matter. On family matters, parental absence, the impact of not being raised by biological parents. What is it? It could be that you've experienced that and you want to share that with us. Dr. Dubi Mashaho will join us. 21 after 9 o'clock. Abel, the show has officially begun.
7:02.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
I'd love to hear from you. You've heard my ranting, and this is your chance now, all the way till 10 o'clock, to share your views, to send text messages, voice notes. You could do so, and feel free to send your voice notes to 072 702 1702. That's 072 702 1702. Alternatively, you can call us, which is what I prefer, and engage with us on 011 883 0702, 011 883 0702, on our socials at Radio 702, on Facebook, Radio 702 on X. Feel free to join us on all those platforms and share your views. I'll try to reflect on what you are saying. We may differ. That is okay. Once again, it's okay to differ. Let's not insult each other when we differ. It's quite normal. You may not see things the way I see them. I may not see things the way that you see them. That is okay. We need this melting pot. We need to engage. Show me, persuade me, and let's get this on the roll. 011-883-0702. From my neck of the woods, Ntlantla, you're in Ramsech. Welcome, Ntlantla.
Hi, Tabo. How are you?
I'm free, Ntlantla. How's it going with you?
I'm blessed. Firstly, I need to say I condemn what the lady said. There was no way that she had to use derogatory language against I think it's a police officer, whatever it is, and also to be as rude and blunt as she was. But that behavior is definitely not acceptable. But I think the opportunity that we are missing from this incident here is that you've got to have, especially for public servants, when they serve in certain communities, you've got to have people that speak the local language to be able to take care of the local needs of the people. I mean, I made an example to your producer that when I called that I grew up in Soweto, I was in Venda for a wedding, and I couldn't communicate because they spoke Venda and they were not negotiable in speaking any other language. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we got to condemn that kind of behavior, that we got to be accommodative, especially for public servants and services.
100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I don't think the 2 points are necessarily mutually exclusive, Ntlantla.
Yep.
I don't want to be your spokesperson. You hear, you'll speak for yourself. I think they run parallel. We cannot be discriminating, but equally so, if you work in a community, make it your business to at least try to speak the language and understand it in order for you to be more competent and effective in executing your services.
That's my contribution.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. Thanks, Ntlantla. All the best.
Thank you.
Ndabezitha in Msinga. Ndabezitha, good morning.
Morning, Tabo Mashaba. How are you, brother?
I am well, good sir. And it's Shole Mashao, but no big deal.
Sorry.
Yeah, my surname is Shole Mashao. Two surnames. No. A lot of people get it wrong. I'm not offended. A lot of people get it wrong because it's fairly long and it doesn't help that there's alliteration to it, you know. So it's Shole Mashao. Yes. Go ahead, my brother. The floor is yours.
Yeah. No, I also strongly condemn what the lady has said in KZN regarding the policeman.
Yeah.
But however, I find it strange when these things, like for me, it looks like if it's a Zulu-speaking person is acting what, like the lady has said in KZN, it becomes a halabaloo. I will give you an example. You remember the story of Todidiza?
Yeah.
At Tshwane,
yeah, standing to be the mayor of Tshwane, and she was rejected partly on basis of regionalism as well. Yeah.
She's a Zulu.
Yes.
She's from KZN.
Yeah.
It was open. It was public. You know?
Yeah.
So there was a video also, I think later last year at Northwest, whereby I don't know those people they were chasing a lady there to say, "Go back to KZN."
Yeah.
This is not the province of Zulu people.
I remember that.
Yes. So I don't know. This thing, it happens everywhere. It's not only about Zulus.
Yes.
Who does this thing, you know?
Yes.
It happens everywhere.
Ndabezitha, I think you also heard I mentioned Mpumalanga, I mentioned Eastern Cape, and I take your point completely. And that's why I asked, is there someone who has had this experience personally? And I know the clip that you're speaking about in Northwest. That was so unfair. The fact that someone does not speak Setswana in Northwest does not mean that they don't belong in Northwest. It does not mean that. They are South African and they've got the right to work there as well, as much as anyone else who may have been born there.
Imagine they tell the whole Togo Division to say, go back to KZN.
Yeah.
Imagine. Yeah. So it happens everywhere, this thing. It's not only about Zulus, maybe who
agreed.
Like us. Yes. No, it's not about Zulus.
Agreed. Ndabezitha, agreed 100%. Jerry, you from Omonde, you've got something to say. Good morning.
Yeah, I had an experience in Thohoyandou. I was working for ShopRite at Thohoyandou. It was on Sunday morning. I was off at work, and I was dropping a lady off on the road. A female traffic officer parked behind me, and she called me to the car. When I got there, she says to me, and I said, guy, and she could realize for it, not as moving. She gave me a ticket.
Yeah.
And I disagreed with the amount, and I also disagreed with her, but madam, it is Sunday, it's quiet, I'm parked on the side of the road, I've got my hazards on, what is your issue?
Yeah.
And she didn't budge. Fair enough. Monday morning, I was the first at the traffic department, and I happened to speak to the senior.
Yeah.
They called her on the two-way radio. She came to the office. The first question they asked her was, why did you give this guy a ticket of this amount?
Yeah.
And apparently, the officer, the senior, spoke in front of me, and she said to the lady, you know what, I've got a problem with you. There's a pattern of you not treating the people who are not vendor speaking well here in vendor. And I realized, okay, I was checked only because, so the ticket was cancelled, and the lady was given a warning.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I was happy with it.
Yeah, I suppose, but the discrimination makes you feel unwanted.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Just because I was driving Koloika GP and I was on speaking vendor, that was my sin.
Yeah, but have you worked outside the province ever since, elsewhere?
Yes, no, a lot.
Okay.
Plenty time. No,
Good.
plenty time.
Was that an isolated incident?
It was. It was isolated.
Okay,
I stayed in Venda for 2 years, by the way.
Oh, good.
And that was the only incident.
Okay, I'm glad we put in that on the table. Jerry, really appreciate it. 29 minutes after 9 o'clock, and I know shortly we'll have to take the Eyewitness News headlines, and I just want to quickly go through some of your not voice notes, but we have text messages, and then after the headline news, Abel will take the voice notes, but some of the text messages right now. This one says, good morning, Thabo. The Commissioner of Limpopo is actually Hadebe from KZN. It's very unfortunate, such utterances. I agree. Yes. It's the name slipped my mind. It is Commissioner Hadebe. Indeed. And then, hi, Thabo, that lady needs to be treated acts like Vicky Mamberg. Her behavior is disgraceful and disgusting. Ignorance will be the death of this country, but we also commend that cop. Cool, calm, and collected in the face of abhorrent behavior. 100%. Nothing beats a very calm police officer with a sense of sobriety in the face of chaotic actions all around them. I agree with that all in all. Tibo's tribalism is back on its feet. Politicians are fueling it. MKP sees nothing wrong with referring to people from Limpopo as Amashangani. In the Northwest as well, tribalism is also rising, said Fidel. Fidel, I have to agree with you. I think we saw this on one of the clips when MK had one of its rallies, and they kept on referring to people from Limpopo as Amashangani over and over again, not just once. It's exactly 9:30. Mikey Mulapo standing by with Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning, Mikey.
Thanks, Thabo. Good morning. While Eastern Cape Judge President Selbin Benenge is expected to return to work after being cleared of gross misconduct, there are questions about whether the Judicial Conduct Tribunal should have paid more attention to the power imbalance between Benenge and a staffer who accused him of harassment. The tribunal cleared the senior judge of gross misconduct and sexual harassment allegations levelled against him by Andiswa Mengo. Mengo alleged that Benenge had sent her inappropriate and explicit WhatsApp messages between 2021 and 2022. We move to the capital, where a new witness is expected to appear before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. Due to safety concerns, the Commission says they will not reveal the identity of the witness until the 11th hour. Last week, KwaZulu-Natal Hawks boss Leseja Sonona testified for most part of the week. And National Treasury is in the process of fast-tracking a new bill that will grant the Financial Intelligence Centre powers to conduct lifestyle audits on South African citizens. The General Laws Amendment Bill of 2025 will authorize the FIC to conduct lifestyle audits not just in response to suspicious transactions, but as a proactive measure. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 10 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traffic is heavily backed up on the R24 as well as the N12 West. This is between the Awar Tambo interchange and the Kilulis interchange. So please be on the lookout there and expect about a 40-minute hold-up. If you're heading towards the city of Tshwane, we still have got delays on the R21 North approaching Olifantsfontein Road. This is due to roadworks that are taking place along the route. And then in the Midrand area, we've got some issues being reported on the N1 South between Samrand Road and Olifantsfontein Road. There's also queuing traffic on the Mark1 South between the Baku turnoff and Marlborough Drive due to a major accident scene. Speaking of a major accident, we've got another one reported on the N3 South just before Modderfontein Road. It's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of Vincent Magwenya Road all the way towards Van Buren Road exit. So please be patient traveling along the N3 this morning. And then in Sharon Lee, delays on Malibongo Drive between Oliver Node Avenue and the N1 exit. Please be on the lookout and remain patient on the roads this morning. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani,
Weekday mornings.
4 to 6.
Today will be the first day for the new National Director of Public Prosecutions, that's Advocate Andy Motibi. What will be his major areas of focus, or what should they be, do you think?
Mobilize sufficiently experienced and competent, well-equipped team, prosecutors, investigators, and forensic experts to get one conviction in state capture. It's not too much to ask. He's got to do that. That has got to be the first thing. Before he has his cornflakes this morning, that he has to attend to.
Glynis Bredenbach, the Member of Parliament for the Democratic Alliance.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
This Sunday, the pressure hits boiling point on Celebrity MasterChef. The semi-finals are here, and there's nowhere left to hide. Seth Shezi, Holly Ray, Mzuyi Simbani, and Dineo Ranaka return to a kitchen where every plate is judged, every move is watched. This is where strong cooks crack and real contenders rise. One dish can take them closer to the final. One mistake can end it all. Don't miss Celebrity MasterChef this Sunday at 6 p.m. only on ETV.
Tip your way to glory in the Hollywood Bets Punters Challenge, the free-to-play horse racing game with daily cash giveaways and massive jackpot prizes. Pick all the winners on the race card and you could win 100,000 Rand. Bet 50 Rand or more on your selections using the Bet Slip feature and you could walk away with 1 million Rand. Visit punterschallenge.hollywoodbets.net today and tip your way to the top. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
702 was in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company, celebrating 3 decades of empowering mine workers and their families through smart, sustainable investment.
Through the JB Marks Education Fund, we have more than 2,200 graduates that have gone through the program and graduated across various fields of study. As we speak, JB Marks has approximately 700 students at any point in time in their system. We've also touched lives through the Mine Workers Development Agency, which does social upliftment projects for communities that mine workers come from. So predominantly your labor sending areas of South Africa and our neighboring countries. And they have touched more than 1 million lives through social upliftment programs, agricultural programs, food security programs, and SMME programs.
Visit mic.co.za today to learn more. Celebrating 30 years of the MIC on 702.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
24 minutes to 10 o'clock. Welcome back. Thabo Shole Mashao, in for Clement Manyathela. Great having you with us. And it's an open line all the way to 10 o'clock. So you only have a few minutes to deposit your thoughts, your views, your queries, your concerns about subject matters that we've raised. And feel free once again to raise any other issue that I might have overlooked. Earlier on, we spoke about Patrice Motsepe 27 campaign. He has not confirmed whether he'll be running or not. He has not said that I'm running. So, but based on what's happening in the media and the ructions in various pockets, I asked the question, when you have someone who's excelling in one area of work, does it necessarily mean that they'd be great in another? And I asked that in lieu of, well, we've had a Donald Trump who was arguably, some would say yes or no, a great businessman. And did it really make him a great president in the U.S.? We have locally Herman Mashaba, fantastic entrepreneur. I've got nothing but respect for his entrepreneurial skills, especially during those difficult times and how he started Black Like Me. But did it necessarily mean that he was a great mayor when he was a mayor here in Joburg? And those are the views that I solicited from you. Feel free to share them on 011-883-0702 and feel free to send your voice notes on 072-702-1702. Speaking of which,
good morning, Thabo. Kolile here. I disagree, man. I don't think just because he's a good businessman, he'll make a great politician. I mean, we have an example in South Africa, you know. Ramaphosa is a great business person, but his presidency is not one of the greatest. It's actually one of the worst. So, yeah, no. I don't subscribe to that logic that just because he's great in business, he'll be a great president. That's just me, you know. And for me, this is just exposing that no, the ANC has no other options, and it's just a dying horse for me. So, yeah, cheers. Have a good day.
Tabu, good morning, man. Floris here from the beautiful Western Cape. Tabu, let me tell you, no. Not all businessmen are great in politics. Look, for instance, Cyril Ramaphosa. And let me tell you, we want to be treated as people, as human beings, and not as assets or bargaining tools. That's what businessmen do. They see profit. So no, we need someone who will treat us with the respect that we deserve. So no. A big no for me, for Mr. Motsepe. I have great respect for him, what he's doing at Sundowns and at CAF, but no, not for president. Have a good job, bye-bye.
Thanks for that. 011-883-0702. Without any further ado. Semi, you are in Centurion. Welcome. Morning.
Good morning, Thabo.
Morning, sir.
So, first of all, Toko Diviza wasn't rejected by the residents of Tshwane because he's Zulu. She was rejected because she was imposed on the residents of Tshwane, whereas Ramaphosa was doing the great job as a mayor. The ANC decided that no, we are going to impose this visa on the residents of Tshwane because they wanted to do this whole thing of balancing the gender skills, gender representation.
And also quelling the conflict between the then two conflicting candidates who were both strong locally.
Yeah, the Togo didn't belong there in the first place.
Yeah, but Semi, apologies. I'll give you a chance. But I think you would agree that those utterances of tribalism, of her having to go back to KZN, not coming from Pretoria, they were there. Although they were not formally from local ANC structures, and that no one is saying that, but the utterances were there of the sort, right?
Well, I never heard of them during the time.
Okay.
But this incident of this woman in KwaZulu-Natal having told the police official that, hey, whatever. And then people are saying, no, we are angry now because it's a Zulu person saying this. Thabo, let's just call it for what it is. If you look at all the cultural groups in South Africa, the cultural group that's mostly likely to be hostile towards you because you don't know their language. Which one is it? let's just call it for what it is. Tabo, go to a taxi rank to any taxi rank in Pretoria.
Yeah.
With any of the South African official languages, say you are asking for a taxi to go somewhere else, they'll accommodate you, right?
Yeah.
They'll accommodate you. They'll show you where you wanna go. Go to a taxi rank in Joburg.
Yeah. Bree Street.
Majority Zulu people, and say go there and say ke gopela taxi yang go Pitori. See what will happen to you. See what will happen to you, and that's why we're so outraged, because we're sick and tired of tap. We're sick and tired of.
Abel was saying that during the break as well, and actually, you know, even though it's anecdotal, there's a strong element of accuracy to it for those people who have encountered. Yeah, go ahead.
It's actually been proven.
Yes.
If you don't remember, back in the 1890s, people are being mad at for not being able to speak Zulu. It's documented that people were being made at for not being able to speak the language.
And that's another can of worms that we must open later on.
That's why people are so outraged against Zulu people, because we're just.
But you see, here's what I would add, Semi. The outrage should not be against Zulu-speaking people. The outrage should be against individual culprits who are actually perpetuating all of this. We do know that there are not many Zulu people who are amazing and who do not subscribe to any of this. We know them by name. I mean, when the country was burning in the 80s and the early 90s, and people like Mzwakhe Mbulu was very clear that tribalism should not be tolerated at all. And they could have easily retreated in their cocoons and said, this doesn't affect me, but they spoke out, you know. So I think it's very important that our anger should be directed to culprits and not a group of people. 011-883-0702. Lintikile from Centurion. Hi.
Hi, Mora Marshall.
Mashate.
Here's the truth.
Yeah.
The moment we realize as South Africans that, you know what, we've gone so deep into tribalism that it is our problem to solve it, we will never get it right.
Yeah.
For an example, now I'm listening to all the people who are calling, they want to point somewhere else where the problem is. But the problem is within us. Within us. The moment you do not recognize a human being standing before you, before you can recognize that this is a human being, you need to know the language, the area where it's coming from. Then we've got a problem. Because a human being is a human being in front of you. Deal with the person in front of you. And as South Africans, I think we are far from that. We are looking for where you're coming from, what language you speak. Now, those things actually were used during apartheid to segregate people.
Yes.
Can we just be human beings now?
Can I ask you a question, Lintikile, before I say goodbye to you? Would you agree that, by and large, South Africans are discriminatory? I mean, if we can do this amongst ourselves, what more against people who come from other countries? And I'm referring specifically to xenophobia. And I'm asking, is there a pattern that is consistent with discrimination amongst South Africans, despite the fact that we claim that Ubuntu is an overriding principle that we hold on dear to as a collective?
Yes, Thabo, there is. I will just go a little bit when I was still young. I'm coming from Free State. And in the Free State, when they spoke about Xhosa, it was more about theft. So I grew up in that. Xhosa is a thief. Xhosa is a thief. And now that I'm older, I understand. I realize that's not true. Everybody can be a thief. So there is, and it's something that was engrafted in our heads while we were children. So we have that problem, but we have to grow up from that.
Lintikile, let's leave it at that. Thanks very much for that. 011-883-0702. Tsakani, you in Pinoni. Hi.
A very good morning. How are you?
I'm free, Tsakani. You are in Pinoni, ne? Are you also well?
Yes, I am in Pinoni. Today's topic really, to me, it's opening what I would call old wounds that I thought I have healed, but today, through this topic, I realized I didn't heal. My background is I was born somewhere in Baragwanath, but my parents went to Mamelodi. Somehow we ended up in Davidton in 1981. You know what happened to us? We started feeling, how is it Kuba Mchangani? People in Davidton were very cruel to us. And people in Davidton were cruel. Any wrong thing that would happen in that township, yenziwa mashangani. You know, when any person who's not even Mutonga or Mchangani is wearing a purple shirt, why you talking njengomshangani? Why you behaving njengomshangani? And this thing was done to us by our very own black people. You know, I think Davidton, I'm not going to speak about other townships because partly I know part of Mamelodi where I come from. Mamelodi people are the most loving people, and I'm giving them their flowers when they're still alive. Davidton people were cruel to us. Now let me just give you an example. Some people in Davidton, Machangan in Davidton, ended up changing their surnames. And Ngobeni would end up being Ngubeni. And Mabasa will end up being a Mabaso. Because my people wanted to fit in a society that they were treated like sub-human beings. So after apartheid has dealt with you so harshly, it was not enough. Your own black people would want to make themselves feel better by making you feel that you are under them. So what happened in KZN a week ago, to me, it was not surprising. In fact, I'm surprised that as South Africans, you are surprised. Because, Gina, we lived. I'm a living proof that, yes, being a South African, as long as you Zulu, you were not treated well. But in Davidson, it was not a Mazulu pair.
Sure.
Even Amakosa, when they look at us, when they would even worse, they would say, Amachangani.
Yeah.
It will make you feel like you are half human. Certainly. And you don't belong.
In a country of your own.
Today, when people are doing it in KZN, they have been doing it. It's just that maybe this time, after the so-called democracy, the persecution is settled.
Sure. Sister Gane, we have to leave it at that, but not before I register my empathetic sentiments towards you. And I hope that the people of Davidton who treated you that terribly would be brave enough and courageous to apologize. And I'm sorry for triggering you in this way. I wish you healing, and I really wish that it would be better with time. I don't want to minimize your pain in any way, but I'm glad that you spoke, because you spoke from first-hand account of what this tribalistic, dirty tribalistic discrimination does and how it's so painful to so many even today. Thank you so much for depositing your views. Tsakani Binoni, 10 to 10.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites. Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on primemediaplus.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 7:02. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the primemediaplus.com and Prime Media Plus app.
This February, don't just celebrate love. You could be celebrating some great car insurance savings too with Outsurance. Like 27-year-old Lynn, who saves a mind-blowing $636 on her 2025 Haval Jolian. Get a quote now. And if Outsurance can save you money, ask for 500 rands or 1,500 rands if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurance FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad. And sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandoz.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
7 minutes to 10 o'clock. Earlier on, there was a caller who said that AmaZulu generally were not necessarily speaking out against this. And I did mention that one of the prominent people who spoke about this when things were tough was one people's poet, Mzwakhe Mbuli, and who also penned a poem called Ukulimala Kwengqondo. That's if you are from my generation, you'd remember that very well. MZ has called now to respond to that. Mzwakhe Mbuli, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Tabo, and how are you?
I am free, MZ. What do you have on your mind this morning? I hope you're
want
well.
to say few things here. I'm currently on the list of the TRC as a victim of apartheid era crimes, okay? I'm mentioning that because we were 3,000 that appeared, 3,000. And as I'm talking about 3,000, it was not about tribalism. It was about apartheid era crimes or war crimes because people were killed, okay? I happen to be alive, I'm safe.
Sure.
You know, during my detentions, repeated detention from Section 6 Terrorism Act or Section 29 Internal Security Act, one thing that made my torture to be the worst of them all is because each time the security branch wanted to find out, by the way, what is your tribe? I would say Zulu. That's when they would honor me. You see, I thought at some stage, whenever I'm detained, I should no longer say I'm Zulu, because each time I said I'm Zulu, the boys will say, this one is like a bull terrier or an Ofark. So they went for me, okay? One. Throughout my life, my poetry, I even have a book. I've mentioned whether it's Ngongonyane, whether it's Chauke, whether it's Zulu, whether it's Biko, Biko is Xhosa, whether it's Zulu is Xhosa. I've mentioned all of them in my poetry. I came out with 2-3 different poems in my even previous book, Before Dawn, against tribalism.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate, even when I fought the wars against the fact that on the airways, we should not, because minds get conditioned, that when you play music in Parapara, it should not only be vendor music only. And I think whether it's Mungana, it should not be Tsonga. So look, let me say this one. When my album was banned, Changes Pain in South Africa, and subsequently An Unbroken Spirit, the reason why the former Transvaal Publication Board banned my book, because it was because of the poem Joseph Chintsongo from Mozambique, Changano. Call him Changano Tsonga. Because I said 27 years living in South Africa, go to your country, they said, pause that those who came from Europe uninvited.
And the poem was called What a Shame, Africa.
What a Shame, Africa.
Of course, I remember the book and the poem, yes.
Easily. People forget easily. Those were born yesterday. I've been there. One has been talking about that, and one as a Zulu mentioned all of them. So if you're saying in South Africa, the first album for me to be banned by apartheid regime was because of Joseph Chintsongo from Mozambique.
Yeah, and
I think I should say that.
No,
I'm dead and I'm humbled that throughout my, even now, if you listen to a poem that says, "I wish the dead could rise and see what their sacrifices become," I mention all of them, all the tribes.
No, definitely, and you never shied away from it, even in your poetry.
No, not at all.
Back then.
Look, currently, I'm a vendor, okay? I'm able to Dibulabola Changan is Lungu, right? So I speak on, and in Soweto, as you said, there's no tribalism in Soweto. The board divided black from black. That is why in Pinkville, only Sutu section, there's Zulu section in my deep Soweto. But regardless of the fact that there were areas mentioned in Middlelands that Le Party Yamachang and Le Masut Yamadu, at the end of the day in Soweto, there is no tribalism.
Nothing at all. MZ, thanks very much for calling. Mzwakhe Mbuli, people's poet. Adrian, you are in Pretoria North. You've been holding for some time. Thanks for your patience. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tabo. Just a quick one. I've got 2 points to deposit there, Tabo. The events of what we saw in KZN is actually what I can call a microcosm of the macrocosm. By that I mean to say it is good for an Indian person, Nish Naidu, to be the spokesperson of KZN SAPS, working there without any disturbances and being respected by the local community. But when a black guy comes in and he speaks English, then we start seeing a problem.
Yeah.
And it doesn't end there, Tabon. I can tell you now, I can give you another example of black-on-black violence. You would see politicians saying black people are selling counterfeit goods. It is counterfeit goods if it is being sold by black people. But the moment white people start selling the something, it's no longer counterfeit, it's aftermarket. You understand? I mean, look at shops like Goldmark and Midas. All those guys are selling counterfeit goods. They are not original products. But when black people start stocking the something, you then say, we have confiscated counterfeit goods worth millions and millions of rand, just because it was done by a black person. So those are two, we need to reflect on that.
And I think, Adrian, you're raising a very important point in a sense where you're saying that reflection has to come from black people without pointing any blame towards anyone. And we must stand firm on it and look in the mirror and say, this is what's wrong. And that's the kind of honest discussions I am all about on the radio, that, yeah, as much as we can rise and scream about racism, we must equally do the same on these issues. And we must hold each other accountable, or else we become hypocrites when we are screaming racism whilst we're discriminating against our very own all the time. But Adrian, thanks for your time. Thanks for the call. And thanks for everyone who's called. We have a minute to 10 o'clock.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Asi Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without MyWay's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. MyWay. Live your way.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Maki Malapo. While Eastern Cape Judge President Selbin Benenge is expected to return to work after being cleared of gross misconduct, there are questions about whether the Judicial Conduct Tribunal should have paid more attention to the power imbalance between Benenge and a staffer who accused him of harassment. The tribunal cleared the senior judge of gross misconduct and sexual harassment allegations leveled against him by Andiswa Mengo. Mengo alleged that Benenge had sent her inappropriate and explicit WhatsApp messages between 2021 and 2022. However, the tribunal only found that the judge president acted improperly by having a flirtatious relationship with a junior employee, adding that Mengo compromised her credibility by lying under oath. The Judicial Services Commission is set to consider whether to endorse or reject the tribunal's report. Judges Matters Mbegezeli Benjamin says the tribunal's finding is still serious.
But what is significant, I think, is that the tribunal didn't completely exonerate the judge. They still found him guilty of misconduct. It's not gross misconduct which may lead to impeachment, but it is misconduct that might lead to a fine. And we've seen in past cases, the JSC has imposed a fine of up to R1 million on a judge.
We move to the courts, where the man believed to be the one who shot and killed Warwick Stock, commonly known as DJ Warris, will make his first appearance in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court this morning. The 25-year-old was arrested at an informal settlement in Primrose on the East Rand on Friday night. The man has been on the run for just over a month following Stock's murder on December 16th. Arun Singh has more.
Members of Gauteng's Serious Violent Crimes Provincial Investigations Unit arrested the man who allegedly shot and killed media personality Warwick Stock in December last year. The suspect was nabbed at an informal settlement in Primrose on the East Rand on Friday evening. Police spokesperson Brenda Muradili.
The arrest happened around 2000 hours on 30 January 2026 in Marathon Informal Settlement, Primrose. The suspect will face charges of murder and contravention of the Immigration Act.
He will appear in the Joburg Magistrates Court this morning and is expected to join Victor Majola, the man accused of orchestrating Stock's murder, in the days to come. Majola, a Soweto taxi boss, was arrested 6 days after Stock was killed and was denied bail last month. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
Staying in the courts, the cross-examination of the state's cell phone analyst will continue when the Parapara burglary trial resumes today. Emanuela David, along with siblings Froliana and Ndilinasha Joseph, are charged with breaking and entering into President Ramaphosa's farm in February 2020 and stealing $580,000 in cash. Their trial resumes today at the Modimolle Regional Court in Limpopo. Thabiso Goba has more.
The cell phone analyst cannot be named due to a standing order in this trial to not reveal the identities of witnesses. In his testimony, the analyst has managed to track the movements of the three accused before, during and after the break-in at the Parapara farm. Using network data and Google mapping, the analyst's evidence places the three accused near the vicinity of the farm during the break-in.
The handsets with cell phone numbers associated with all these individuals activated cell phone towers in the vicinity of Parapara farm around the same time.
At the last court appearance, lawyers for accused number 1, Emanuela David, grilled the analyst on the credibility of the data he presented to courts. Today is the opportunity for the lawyers representing the two other accused siblings to cross-examine the analyst's evidence. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News.
And National Treasury is in the process of fast-tracking a new bill that will grant the Financial Intelligence Centre powers to conduct lifestyle audits on South African citizens. The General Laws Amendment Bill of 2025 will authorise the FIC to conduct lifestyle audits, not just in response to suspicious transactions, but as a proactive measure. SARS already has these powers and frequently uses them to ascertain whether your standard of living matches your declared income. According to MoneyWeb, the bill also requires banks and other financial institutions to keep records for 7 years instead of the current 5. If passed in its current form, the FIC would have the power to initiate lifestyle audits at the request of an organ of state, a public entity or municipality, provided it reasonably believes that the entity has an interest in the information. The FIC would have the power to access any database held by a municipality or public entity. The bill was gazetted last month for public comment. Gold's trading at $4,554.28 an ounce. The rand's at 16.18 to the dollar, at 22.13 to the pound, at 19.18 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $66.03 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Parktown, we've got some delays on the M1 South. An accident reported right near Empire Road, causing delays coming out of the Kilani Bends. There's also queuing traffic on the R24 West. This is between the OR Tambo interchange and the Gilulis interchange. Two major incidents happening there. Roadworks right near Craft Road, as well as an accident scene near Barbara Road. So please be patient along this route.
A look at your weather. A partly cloudy start to the week in Gauteng today with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are set to peak at highs between 28 and 31 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. While Eastern Cape Judge President Clement Manyathela is expected to return to work after being cleared of gross misconduct, there are questions about whether the Judicial Conduct Tribunal should have paid more attention to the power imbalance between Manyathela and a staffer who accused him of harassment.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Your brain's a well-oiled machine. Now put it to work in the brain of 702. Enter on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
6 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. So welcome to 702. Clement is not here. My name is Thabo Sholemashao. I'm excited to be with you all the way to 12 midday. And if you've just joined us, you've missed out on a very heated yet potent open line. We discussed a number of issues, primarily tribalism. As much as we'd be fascinated and fixated on racism, we have to speak out about other forms of discrimination, and we can't shy away from that. We cannot. We have to be brave enough to deal with our own demons as South Africans and open ourselves up and be vulnerable towards each other. Of course, the argument will go, which is very valid, by the way, that the divide and conquer element of apartheid is partly responsible for us acting like this towards one another. However, we are here now, and we must take responsibility, and we must try to change and do better. 8 after 10, this hour we will explore South African gambling tendencies so much that it is affecting basic food and groceries money being spent on gambling as opposed to putting food on the table. Ghana Makashule Ghana is my guest, and you'd know him very well from Rise Mzansi, where he's an MP. He has spoken openly about this, and he has waxed lyrical on this issue of gambling and its gauges. He'll join us momentarily.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
South Africans are currently going through a lot, and the country itself is experiencing an unprecedented surge in online gambling. People are gambling for soccer, sports, and all sorts of other things, horse racing, and many other things that may be out there. And ordinary households increasingly sacrificing the essential needs, including grocery and food spending, just to place bets in the hope of winning money. To an extent, you can understand why many South Africans, especially those who are battling, opting for this route, because they are thinking, here's an opportunity that would be so scarce for me to make 10,000 rands, 20,000 rands, 100,000 rands, and even over R1 million in just putting this 10 rand down on this bet. And my life could possibly change for the better if I do that. But gambling activities do not always deliver on their promises. At times, they take so much more and give so very little. It was said that the amount that was spent on betting exceeded or was just round about 1.5 trillion rands. 1.5 trillion rands between 2024 and 2025. And it was further, and it needs more investigation, that the returns on those who had placed their bets was just around the figure of 200 million rands. Is betting, eating, and knowing at the core of South Africans? You'd remember there was a suggestion of everyday lotto back in the day, and South African Council of Churches vehemently opposed that. Are you one of those people who are betting? And there's no judgment here, by the way. I'm not moralizing and judging you for taking decisions that you need to take for your family to survive. That's not my role. I'm here to facilitate a discussion, and I'd love to hear from you if perhaps you have somehow taken that decision, or you were in that life of betting every single day, going to those outlets, spending 4 or 5 hours there and putting the money there. Sometimes you walk away with something, sometimes you walk away with none. On your phone, there's an app, and you bet on soccer outcomes, results, goals, this, that, and the other. Is it working for you? Is it not working? And what do you make of so much money being spent on betting? Is it stimulating and growing the South African economy, or is it detrimental in a long term to the core of a nation? Makashule Ghana joins me, Rise Mzansi, Member of Parliament. Makashule Ghana, always a pleasure talking to you. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Tava, and good morning to the 702 listeners.
You've raised this issue many a times. I don't know what you make of these figures, and perhaps you would have far better figures than we do because in Parliament you are extremely vocal on the matter. Are we headed for a downward spiral?
We are on the way down, insofar as the gambling addiction is concerned. I mean the numbers, and we have been dissecting the numbers from August when Stats SA revealed their findings insofar as how the personal spending for personal services has now moved towards gambling. One, but also the National Gambling Board statistics that reveals that 1.5 trillion rands was wagered in one financial year, and the gambling companies were the ones that declared was sitting at around 75 billion rand in gross gambling revenue. So these numbers are not like now we do know of them. What is of interest, and it was something that even the Pick and Pay CEO raised last year, but also confirmed by this report by Trade Intelligence, that what is happening in terms of household spending, there's a displacement effect, to say that money that is supposed to go for groceries, money that's supposed to go for necessities, it's now being placed to gamble with a hope. Remember, now it's no longer a leisure activity. Back in the days, gambling was a leisure activity that you go on a weekend away to Sun City or whatever casino it is, and then you are then playing as part of entertainment, but it has ceased to be a form of entertainment. Now people are gambling, trying to escape the high living cost, also trying to escape poverty. But unfortunately, Thabo, while there might be few that win, majority of the people that gamble lose their money, and that's the sad reality.
Sure. Makashulekana, there would be those, I suppose, who are pro free market policies, and they would then argue that no one is holding a gun on the gamblers and people must just be responsible themselves. However, you are arguing that there ought to be legislative and regulatory intervention. Practically, what are you suggesting, and what should that legislation be looking at, and how can it be implemented?
So there are certain freedoms, when they are over-exercised, they become a burden to society in the form of, let's say, the health system. Because once someone is addicted to gambling,
Makashulekana, I've lost you for a second, and
can you hear me now?
Now I can. Yeah, if you can just go back 2 seconds to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I was saying there are certain freedoms, like people who argue for this, to say, no, people are free to do as they wish. So when people overconsume alcohol and they get sick, who must treat them? It must be the state that treats them, because the state cannot turn someone at the hospital and say, you got sick out of alcohol, you got sick out of tobacco, therefore we are not going to treat you. The Constitutional Court will say you have a duty as the government to treat that person. So in the same way, when gambling addiction starts affecting even the levels of productivity, it starts affecting communities and families, then it is the duty of the state to then come in to say, no, because once you are addicted, you will burden the health system. We must come in to regulate how this industry then operates. Because if we then now say, no, everyone, it's freedom. You are free to drink, you are free to smoke, it's your choice to gamble, it's your choice to have unprotected sex, and if whatever happens there, we are going to turn you back. will then come back to say no, but the state and the government is not looking after its own people. That's why there is a need for regulation so that these activities do not lead to overburdening the state capacity to provide healthcare and safety to its residents. So
how should it look like? Regulations.
So the first one, which I'm very much glad that finally Treasury is on board insofar as reviewing the tax regime, so that the operators, because they are causing a damage in society, they should be able to pay for that damage in the same way that tobacco companies, alcohol companies, because they are causing a harm in society, they cannot be taxed like it's a normal. Like a normal good. It's a harmful good. Tobacco, alcohol, gambling are harmful goods. Therefore, the tax regime needs to be relooked at, and that's why we support the need for a national online gambling tax. The second one, in terms of regulation, that this one does not need a change in legislation. It's in terms of the exposure. The time that the South Africans are exposed to gambling advertising and so forth, that needs to be done. We also need to clamp down significantly on unlicensed, unregistered operators that are operating in South Africa. Thabo, out of the billions that I quoted earlier, there are many billions that leave South Africa into foreign lands that are not being taxed. And that is a big problem. That's why we need to clamp down on unlicensed, unregistered operators. There should not be a reason why these companies are operating. Because even when they operate in South Africa, some of these companies that are registered in Malta, they are registered in Curacao and those islands there, they then come in and use names that sound South African.
Yes.
And for a South African that doesn't know, they think that, no, this is a South African company. The one that I can mention, because you can go and check, you'll think that you are in a South African operator. It's one that's called Springbok Casinos. That thing is not registered or licensed in South Africa. But for anyone who plays on that, they think they are playing in a South African licensed operator. And so they are using a .co.za to mask in terms of where they are coming from. And we must be able to name and shame them to say, these companies cannot operate in South Africa. Department of Communications, Trade and Industry, let's block these companies from operating in South Africa.
Sure.
The other one.
Sure, go ahead with the other one.
The other one that we need to start working together with the banks and so forth is not to allow people to gamble with overdraft and credit card. Because if you start gambling overdraft and credit card, it means that you are gambling the money that you do not have. Because your overdraft and your credit card, it's not your money. Now, when we allow people to gamble on overdraft and credit card, we are actually saying that no, they must gamble on credit. So who gets rich out of gambling on credit? It's the operators themselves. And that's why we need to work with the banking sector to say, no, let's not allow punters to gamble with credit card and overdraft. And the final one, Thabo, is this use of social media influencers to try to lure in people into the life of gambling. That needs to be outlawed in South Africa.
Very interesting and drastic measures that you are suggesting. Let's hear what people have to say. I'd love to hear from you as well on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, send us a voice note on 072-702-1702. Makashula Gana is my guest, and he is from Rise Mzansi. He's a member of parliament. He has raised these issues in the House many times, and he's pushed for stricter legislative restrictions against some of these companies who are operating in South Africa, must as local companies, and trying to reduce the harm of gambling. Are you a gambler, or do you think that the government is overreaching, or Parliament is overreaching in this instance in protecting you? Are you able, or are you happy to carry yourselves and protect yourself as you ought to? Let us know on 072-702-1702. 1702. Makashulekana, I am also very much keen on the things that cannot be legislated on. But before that, let's just quickly take a voice note.
Hi, Tabo. It's Shumani here. I'm trying to figure out why gambling. Why do the politician want to deal with gambling? If a person wakes up in the morning, goes to work, make his own money, and then use it for gambling, whose problem is that? Is it the politician's problem, or is it the owner of the money's problem? If I want to buy lotto, I can buy lotto anytime I want to. The problem with the politician is they like to run to things which are far from them while the country is in mess. You can't focus on things that are very far from you, and then you can't even fix the whole country. The country is in turmoil. So, I don't know.
Morning, 702 lenders. Casey from the south. The gambling topic is very interesting because gambling it's a huge problem in this country and probably globally. But it's not just a problem from the perspective of gamblers, even from advertisers or advertisement. I know a certain newspaper whereby you try read one of the articles online, and as soon as you click on the story that interests you, the page directly takes you to one of these betting sites, whereby obviously it requires you to log in. As much as we are saying that people should stop gambling, but we should also look at these advertisements. It cannot be that I'm trying to read an article and I'm directed to a gambling website.
Very, very interesting. 011-883-0702. I'd love to hear from you. Mr. Mngube, you are in Uppington. Good morning.
Good morning. Mine is short, my man. Your guest raised a suggestion that banks should not allow people to use their credit cards and overdrafts. But now what happens if a person can transfer money between these accounts? It will still boil to the same detrimental result. I would suggest that banks not be allowed at all for somebody to use his or her credit facilities at all. I think that will be a lasting solution. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Mngube. And I'm just wondering to what extent doesn't that border on a nanny state where the government plays a role in even your small little corner. But Makashulekana did mention that, I mean, if the results are detrimental, it will be the government that takes responsibility. Makashulekana, your response to our two voice notes?
Yeah, all right. Just a quick one. See, when people start gambling the money that they don't have and they fall into a life of poverty as a result of losing the money, then there's a duty on government to take care of the people. When people are gambling their social grants, which are supposed to help them, to live, people are gambling their SRD grant. People are gambling their NSFAS. Students are gambling their NSFAS. Then they will then come back to the state and say, no, but there's poverty in this area. There needs to be food parcels and all that. That's why you cannot just say it's someone who just takes their money, and then in the same way someone will say, but don't tell me how much to drink, don't tell me how much to smoke, don't tell me why I should not have unprotected sex, because if I get sick, it's my life. When you get sick, the duty of care falls on the state. That's something that I think people are missing. Just on the point that the caller is to say that, and I think I forgot to mention this stuff. the operators must properly know who their punters are, who the gamblers are. And if I know, for instance, that Makashile Ghana, you earn 5,000 rand, you have just played 5,000 rand and you have lost. Then the system, and it can be done this technologically. It's not a complex thing. They can soft lock you out of all the gambling sites. Say that you have lost your entire salary now, so you cannot gamble for a period. Yes, that's.
Yeah.
You
What if you want to win your money back?
With what money? Because you have gambled your salary away. You earn 5,000 rand. You have played You have played 5,000 rand. So which money are you now? Which means now you are using undeclared.
Are you
money.
not too late at that point of that cap of 5,000 rands if you are earning 5,000 rands? Shouldn't the cap be at least 1,500 rands so that there's at least something left for the kids?
I'm giving that as an example.
Sure. No, I hear you. I'm extending the metaphor. Sure.
So we can take it a bit lower, but we should be able to use a soft lock mechanism wherein we say, all right, today you have gambled X amount. This is enough for the day. We are soft locking you. You can't gamble. Go sleep. Maybe when you wake up, you'll be thinking straight. And this mechanism could very well work because like I've got someone, and someone that lost over 300,000 in a night.
Sure.
Because they were using their credit card and overdraft.
We have.
And there's no mechanism to soft lock people out of.
We have about a minute and a half left. Makashulekana, to what extent are these companies complicit in luring people and making sure that you are hooked onto the system? Or does it also rely heavily, or is it dependent also on the behavioral acumen of the gambler?
So let me say this. A lot of these gambling games, especially the ones that you see now, they are designed to be addictive.
Okay.
They are designed to be addictive so that you lose money. Gambling companies are not here to make South Africans win money and get rich. They are not here to make South Africans win money and get rich. They are here to extract and maximize their profit. So the games that they then get developed is to maximize that profit, not to ensure that because today you don't have money for bread, go and play. And then you'll win money, and then you'll go make bread. So it's the games themselves are designed with an idea to make you addictive, in the same way that tobacco is produced to get you addicted to smoking. That's what these games are for. That's why there's the need to then moderate in terms of how much goes out in the market, so that you limit the level of addiction, because once people are addicted, then it gets to a problem. Others end up committing suicide, others end up selling their homes, and they become violent towards their families. Others, and to a conversation that I had last week, even the productivity level of the workplace reduce as a result of gambling addiction.
We have to leave it at that, but thank you so much for your time, Makashulekana, and we hope to revisit this very important topic in the near future. Makashulekana is Rise Mzansi Member of Parliament. 10:30. Mikey Mulapo will tell us what is making Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning, Mikey.
Thanks, Tabo. Good morning. EFF leader Julius Malema says the upcoming local government elections are a do or die for the party. After a poor showing at the 2024 national and provincial polls, the EFF is looking to recover lost ground. South Africa is expected to witness what is likely to be the most fiercely contested municipal election in democratic history between November this year and January next year. In the courts, a gunman linked to last month's mass shooting at a tavern in Cape Town is expected to appear in the Athlone Magistrates Court this morning. Beki Maklinwa was allegedly among the trio that targeted 9 people in Marikana informal settlement in Philippi East. The shooting is believed to be extortion related. And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened legal action against comedian Trevor Noah. Noah, who was the 68th Grammy Awards host, made a comment about Trump and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 11 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Amo, how do the roads look?
Well, Tabo, we do have an accident reported on the M1 South heading towards the Parktown area. It's causing delays coming out of Harton Drive. Please be on the lookout there while traveling on the N3 South, queuing traffic between the Kilulis Interchange and Van Buren Road. But then if you are traveling on the R24 West, please be patient because we've got delays between the OR Tambo Interchange and the Kilulis Interchange. Roadworks are taking place there as well as an earlier accident causing these delays. And then we've got more roadworks taking place in Tembisa along the R21 North, right near Olifantsfontein Road, and they are causing delays. Please do drive with care. I will have more traffic updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's Carl de Koza here in another Carl de Koza production starring Carl de Koza and Cars.Koza. In this country, we don't just drive cars, we love cars. So slide into our DMs on WhatsApp and let's find what moves you.
Get your brain in the game, cause the brain of 702 is back with your chance to flex your general knowledge smarts. There's 3,000 rands up for grabs every day, and Brain of the Week wins 10,000 rands plus a spot in the finals to compete for the grand prize, 30,000 rands cash. Enter on primemediaplus.com now. Then catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and 702 Drive with John Perlman for your chance to be the brain of 702. T's and C's and more on primemediaplus.com.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientel's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientel, you're not just buying a plan, you're also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover, as well as transport, grocery, and unveiling benefits. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientel Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
When getting that bread, rising and grinding, 9 to 5 in, even after 5, hustling, side hustling, clocking in, knocking in, going all out, crossing T's, dotting I's, hitting KPIs, meeting ROIs, meeting deadlines, all before EOD because everything is needed ASAP. There's a lot on the go. Stick with it with the Nando's Cabo Society and single chips for 79 Rand. You've got this, and we've got you. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
Know a little about a lot, from headlines to horsepower, parenting to pop culture. If you stay switched on with News 24, it's time to cash in. Play the Raise Your Game quiz every day this week from 1 p.m. on 702 afternoons with Rilebogile Mabotja. Answer 3 questions, stack your winnings, and walk away with up to 5,000 Rand cash. Thanks to News 24. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. The Raise Your Game quiz with News 24. Only on 702. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
24 minutes to 11 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. My name is Thabo Shola. I'm in for Clement. We're together till 12. In the past half hour, we spoke to Makashulekana about the matters of gambling. And in this half hour, we'll continue on other important issues that face both you and I as South Africans and a little beyond. And you remember that the appointment of Advocate Andy Mothibi as South Africa's National Director of Public Prosecutions sparked some controversy and a whole lot of public outcry in some political and some civil society elements where the issues of transparency were brought to book. You'd remember that there was a committee that ought to have chosen a suitable candidate, and they ended up not finding anyone suitable. But the president then appointed Advocate Andy Mothibi. I think it was his first day at work, even though the role was supposed to start on the 1st of February 2026. We are speaking now to Lebogang Ramaphosa, Executive Director at Corruption Watch, a very important entity in our society, and that takes pleasure and responsibility in fighting corruption in all facets of society. So we thought we should invite Lebogang Ramaphosa just to give us their views and just to delve a little bit deeper on this issue. Lebogang Ramaphosa, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good morning.
Don't rush Monday. It's not afternoon yet.
Apologies. Yeah, I don't know what I'm in a rush for. But something that is of extreme importance. And I'd like to find out what is Corruption Watch's stance on the appointment, firstly, of Advocate Andy Mothibi as NDPP, despite not being one of the 6 candidates interviewed by the advisory panel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Look, Corruption Watch has first-hand knowledge of the excellent credentials and wealth of experience that Advocate Mothibi brings to the criminal justice system. He has really led in a very exemplary way for close to 10 years, the Special Investigating Unit. And we have worked and continue to do so, work with the SIU on many anti-corruption initiatives. To give you an example, the National Anti-Corruption Fora set up following the recommendations of the Zondo Commission, and the sectors include health, infrastructure, built environment, border management and control, local government. And we know that SIU really facilitated some of these sectors and some of the questions on corruption around the areas. So we have confidence in Advocate Mothibi. But as you mentioned in your introduction, we also raised concerns that, when the announcement was made, it was unfortunate that he was not subjected to the same transparent interview processes by the advisory panel that other candidates went through. And
did that somehow seem like a waste, perhaps not only of time, but on resources on the side of a team that was put together to interrogate the suitability of office in the NDPP of those candidates? Was it resources wasted?
I wouldn't say the resources are wasted. I think an opportunity was lost. And there was a turnaround that, in our view, is unfortunate. And I guess, we need to understand why this is important, is that we are facing in a country, I think, a series of revelations of why it is important to have absolute transparency when you select people who hold certain positions of office. And we've been campaigning as Corruption Watch from 2016, that the appointment processes of leaders of SOEs, institutions in the criminal justice system, and those established under Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 of the Constitution become transparent. And it is really to ensure that there is, we all are aware who is being selected, what process is used, what criteria is being used, and that there is avenues for public participation in appointment processes. Now, the president agreed in this regard and had a panel. One of the things that you may say is the fact that this panel was only put together in October, when in fact the incumbent, then we all knew, it wasn't a surprise, that they were going to leave their positions at the end of January. So when you start that process in October, there are interviews late in the year, and the panel comes up and basically says, listen, we didn't find anybody suitable. And then you go back and you say, well, I've listened to everybody. They have said somebody is not suitable. You can't say that process, the transparency process, was a waste. In itself, it wasn't a waste. The question we need to ask ourselves in the country is whether or not, and I think the president has gone against what he had said in what we have advocated for having a process that is transparent. It is not about Advocate Mothibi. We've already said Advocate Mothibi has proven himself. But we really want to guard against a practice where somebody can get their own friends, somebody can get people with their own political connections, and the public has no way of knowing and seeing what is the criteria, who was in the ring in terms of who put their name in the ring and why were they selected. I think that precedent is very, very worrying in a country that is besieged with some of the problems that, we are faced with, but also in the spirit of fairness and transparency and openness of the Constitution.
Advocate Mothibi's appointment is expected to be challenged by a Cape Town-based law firm called Bikulu and Partners. Holding on the principles that you've just mentioned right now, would you be in support of this court action?
No, we would not. I think you can take a pragmatic view. In our submission to the Zondo Commission in relation to parliamentary appointment, was that the Zondo report recommended that Parliament consider whether it is desirable to amend its rules to give effect to the proposal by Corruption Watch on appointments by Parliament. And that issue is one issue. I think you can go along with that and still ask those questions and raise the concerns that we are raising about the transparency. But to do it in such a way that you are going to cripple somebody who, there hasn't been anybody that has said, we don't think that this person will not be fit to hold office. Is I think cutting your nose to spite your face. Our position is that you can question processes going forward. You can raise an issue with the fact that even the Zondo report acknowledges our recommendation that the processes are transparent. But you do need to get to a point where you say the NPA at this point in time is crucial. Look at what has come out of the Matlanga Commission, where we are saying a task team must lead prosecutions. This is what this country needs right now. And I do think that, at some point in time, we cannot afford at this point in time to be sitting and basically saying, well, we want all of our conditions being met before, we can see prosecutions taking place. So, no, we will not be supporting it. It does not mean that we are saying it is fine not to follow a transparent process. We are saying now that it has happened, when you weigh everything that is at stake, it is absolutely important to back Advocate Mothibi, to advocate that he takes on all of these cases that from the Zondo Commission, by the way, any prosecutions that are there, rebuild the NPA, rebuild trust in the criminal justice system, and go on with his work. What are we achieving by basically having court actions that are going to further delay and further create a weakening and a lack of trust of the NPA? We also need to be pragmatic, and I think you can still hold the the president accountable. You can still make the point about transparency, but let Advocate Mothibi do his job.
My guest is Lebogang Ramaphosa, Executive Director at Corruption Watch, and she joins us on the backdrop of the appointment of Advocate Andy Mothibi, South Africa's National Director of Public Prosecutions, who is resuming his office today. There have been a number of public outbursts out there against the decision, and some had said that perhaps he needed to have been subjected to the panel as well of 7 that's set to scrutinize the suitability of various candidates who were called before it. And I'd like to hear from you on 011-883-0702, 011-883-0702. Oslebogang, he's facing a mammoth of a task. And perhaps some who are more dramatic than myself may argue that it's even a poison chalice. And he comes into office, facing some of the issues that you've raised, ongoing cases linked to the Zondo Commission. You also have the Nugent Commission, of course, the Mpati Commission, and also the office that has been riddled in one way or the other, that did not necessarily cover itself with much confetti as far as processes are concerned. What are some, in your view, as Corruption Watch, some of the key critical priorities that need to be looked into that would concern the well-being of South Africa's office?
Well, I think for me, Advocate Mothibi accepted the job, and it is going to be up to all of us to fix these institutions. And if there's anything that has come up, is the fact that there was a deliberate hollowing out of very, very key institutions over a period of time. I think for me, Advocate Mothibi, particularly because he has not, was not subjected to the interview process, there is an expectation from organizations like ourselves and the entire nation that he himself gets into office and assesses what are some of the priorities, given, as you have said, how many they are. And come to the public and basically says, listen, this is my, this is the plan. This is where we are going to start. If you listened to the interviews, particularly from those who had been in the NPA before, including the previous incumbent, it seems as if there are structural challenges. And I think one of the things that he would need to do is to say, how does he deal with them? I'm not of the view, when I listened to the last interview by Advocate Batoyi about the problems that she found of salaries, of budgets, of being overstretched, that they are insurmountable. I think they don't give anybody a license not to do anything. And I think while one can appreciate that institution maybe is facing issues beyond the control. So I wouldn't necessarily say a poisoned chalice as such. I'm saying it is a very troubled institution. But anybody who gets into an institution, we see it with SARS, we see it with other institutions. People work within constraints that they have, but they don't then spend 7 years with very little of a track record. Whatever time you've got, when you are a leader, when you've got a vision, you prioritize. You prioritize what you need to do. And I think right now, is to go back, even the fora that the SIU is leading around the different recommendations from Matlanga, is to get a sense of what is he prioritizing. I think ideally as South Africa, we want to see mass prosecutions, because we've been waiting for so long. But on a reasonable level, you are saying that there are key ones that he would get in there and he will prioritize. He will make sure that he's got the right people there. But I am waiting, and I think we ought to give him also, I think our solidarity and our active citizenry is to want Advocate Mothibi to succeed. I know
Yeah.
that as Corruption Watch, we would want him to succeed.
Good.
Prioritize and then act.
Sure.
Just don't come to us in a year and give us a litany of why things could not be done. We
Yes.
know that. What are you going to do about it?
Lebogang Ramaphosa is my guest. It's 9 minutes to 11 o'clock. This is 7:02.
There's a song that goes, "Money can't buy me love." And that's true. But then they told us all you need is love, which anybody with a mortgage will tell you most certainly is not true. Love won't pay your parking tickets or your student loan. It's also needy. It requires effort, availability, constant care. But more importantly, love requires time. And while money can't buy you love, it can certainly free up some of your time. Time to spend on the things you love, with the people you love. And if you're looking, maybe even time to find the one you love. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you love. And don't you love that about investing? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Join the Department of Human Settlements, government and industry leaders, innovators and visionaries at the Summit on Innovative Building Technologies, IBTs, where cutting-edge solutions are shaping sustainable, inclusive and resilient human settlements. Tune in to 7:02 tomorrow, 3rd February, broadcasting live at the Nasrec Expo Center, Johannesburg, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Visit dhs.gov.za for more. The Department of Human Settlements, houses, security and comfort.
All cars are designed to move. A Mazda is crafted to move you. Every line, every detail, form in motion, beauty with purpose. So that when you drive, you connect. Car and driver become one. One rhythm. Builds, holds, breaks free. The feeling will find you. Mazda. Wonder awaits.
Driver on the road or driver on the golfing green? Auto & General covers the world's best drivers. Auto & General, the official regional insurance partner of Live Golf South Africa 2026 and 702 are putting your driver knowledge to the test for your chance to win a share of 100,000 Rand. Up to the challenge? WhatsApp 072 702 1702 with the keyword Auto & General and follow the prompts. Every day this week, 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa could call you back to play. Thanks to Auto & General on 702. T's and more on primemediaplus.com. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
6 minutes to 11 o'clock. We are speaking to Lebogang Ramaphosa, Executive Director at Corruption Watch, and this is on the appointment of Advocate Andy Mothibe, South Africa's National Director of Public Prosecutions. I think, let me just quickly, Lebogang, do justice to the voice notes that came through. I'm going to ask you to reflect on those before we say goodbye and allow you to give us your parting shot. Let's go straight to them, Abel, and if you'd like to send more, feel free to do so on 072 702 1702.
Hi, morning, Thabo, and your guest there. I just have a question that I'm confused about. It's to Mr. Mothibe. Did he go through the processes that the other candidates went through in terms of transparency? If not, then why is the Corruption Watch not standing with the Zulu attorneys that are questioning the appointment? It really doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why are we so content with things that are happening that doesn't make sense and we still not correcting them?
And your guest. My problem is just that we are not told why these other people were not suitable, and that affects in future, if we have to make a choice again, we won't know which people to nominate or to choose. So if they could just make that available, but I suppose there's a reason why they don't do it. But if they can just let us know what is the reason for not telling us why people were not suitable. Thank you. Wilhelmina Pretoria.
Appreciate it, Velimir. Oslebogang?
Yeah, I mean, I think the statement that we released just after the appointment of Advocate Mothibi was very clear that we question why he was not subjected to the same process, and we question, the sincerity of the president to transparency. But remember, the president, with the current law, has a right to do that. Hence, the Zondo recommendation was to support our submission at Zondo that, in fact, we need to change the law that gives the president the right to appoint somebody who has not gone through a public process. I have said earlier on that we are not opposing it because in the balance of things, crippling the process of appointment with court applications is going to make us lose sight of the big task ahead of Advocate Mothibi. We also said in January, and we are saying it now, that we are cautiously optimistic given his track record at the SIU for over 10 years. And I think the evidence of that speaks for itself.
Yes.
So we are taking a pragmatic view. We will follow the court case. We will see what the court case will say. And we will still question the processes. And there are many, many other avenues we can follow other than questioning his appointment in particular. We can question whether that law is constitutional in making and giving the president the power to just appoint even when somebody has not gone through a public process. So that is the approach we have taken. We are not opposed to those who are going to court, and we will also follow that. I think the second voice note is correct. There has been a public call that basically say give their reasons.
Yes.
The president has said, we are not privy to do that. But any personal information can be redacted so that we are not hearing what they have said about Thabo Shole Mashao, in particular. But we are basically saying candidate 1 had these weaknesses, candidate 2 had these weaknesses, candidate 3 had these weaknesses. And therefore, given this criteria, we don't think any one of them is suitable. I think that is a fair and reasonable request. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you are then making people even question Advocate Mothibi, who's got the right credentials and was put in a position in this way.
We have to leave it at that, unfortunately, Lebogang. Thanks for your time. Always a pleasure talking to you. Lebogang Ramaphosa, Executive Director, Corruption Watch, 2 to 11.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a Clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
New year, new you, same trusted We Buy Cars since 2001. Whether you're buying or selling, We Buy Cars makes the process simple and seamless. Simply visit webuycars.co.za to complete the Sell My Car form for an offer, or browse through thousands of vehicles of all shapes and sizes. Ready to buy, sell, or trade in? Visit webuycars.co.za, one of their branches nationwide.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Ki Malapo. We begin at the capital, where a new witness at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, Captain Lawrence Magwenya, has given details about ballistic evidence from the murder scene of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart, who was shot 23 times. Magwenya is currently giving evidence linking Swart's murder in Vereniging to another crime scene in Bramley, where police tracked a vehicle involved in Swart's murder to the home of the suspect. Swart was killed in a case of mistaken identity, and the real target was a corruption whistleblower. Magwenya is a senior forensic analyst in the automated ballistics identification system at the police's ballistics section in Pretoria. But he's denied earlier evidence that he informed the investigating officer that there are links between the ballistics and other high-profile cases.
I would like to state categorically that I never made such a statement to the investigating officers. The only linkage I was aware of is at the date I gave the investigating officers the report was the firearm confiscated during the arrest of the suspect in Bramley on the 17th April 2024.
We move to the courts, where the man accused of shooting Warwick Stock, known as DJ Warris, has appeared before the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. Armindo Pakula, a 25-year-old Mozambican national, is facing charges of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and contravention of the Immigration Act. Pakula has opted for legal aid representation and will opt to apply for bail despite allegedly being illegally in the country. He was arrested by members of Gauteng's Provincial Investigation Unit on Friday evening at an informal settlement in Primrose on the East Rand. We'll have more details on this story in our upcoming bulletins. Staying in the courts in the Western Cape, a gunman linked to last month's mass shooting at a tavern in Cape Town is expected to appear in the Athlone Magistrates Court today. Beki Manyiwa was allegedly among the trio that targeted 9 people in Marikana informal settlement in Philippi East. The shooting is believed to be extortion-related. Ntutuzelo Nene has more.
Beki Manyiwa is accused of being one of 3 gunmen who shot and killed 9 people at a tavern in the Marikana informal settlement on January 17th. The 19-year-old was arrested in Zwelithemba in Worcester a week later. The teenager confessed to being linked to the deadly mass shooting and has been charged with 9 counts of murder, attempted murder, and 2 counts of robbery with aggravating circumstances. Prosecutors say more charges are expected when he makes his second court appearance this morning. The state adds that it would also oppose his bail bid should he choose to apply. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
South Africa's prisons continue to struggle with severe overcrowding, with more than 170,000 inmates detained during the festive season. The Correctional Services Department has confirmed that correctional facilities nationwide have a capacity of just over 107,000 beds. This means the number of inmates far exceeds the department's approved bed capacity. Addressing a media briefing this morning, Correctional Services Commissioner Samuel Tobachale said the country's prisons are under immense strain.
This level of incarceration represents the highest population recorded in recent years and has placed immense pressure on infrastructure, staffing, security management, budget, and it's also compounded by reduced court activity during the festive season.
Tobachale says prisons are overburdened.
The numbers continues to increase, and this reflects the effectiveness of the JCPS cluster, in the main, the police, prosecutions, and the courts in attending to crime. But it continues to put more weight on the correctional system in terms of the population.
EFF leader Julius Malema says the upcoming local government elections are a do or die for the party. After a poor showing at the 2024 national and provincial polls, the EFF is looking to recover lost ground. South Africa is expected to witness what is likely to be the most fiercely contested municipal elections in democratic history between November this year and January next year. Delivering the closing remarks at the party's plenum at the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, Malema stressed the EFF cannot afford a weak performance this time around. Alpha Ramushana was there.
Victory or death. Those are the words that Julius Malema used to describe what the upcoming local government elections mean to the EFF. Lazy party members and ineffective councillors in municipal councils are what Malema says the EFF will not tolerate ahead of this election. He says if the party doesn't take the upcoming municipal polls seriously, it could signal the end of the Red Berets.
We have to accept that this year we have to do well or die. There comes a point in your life where you say, I have to survive or I'm going to die.
Malema adds that the EFF has reached a stage where it no longer feels compelled to form coalitions with the ANC in order to participate in municipal government. He adds that the EFF will no longer back the election of ANC mayors unless the ANC agrees to accept an EFF candidate. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Boksburg.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened legal action against South African-born comedian Trevor Noah. Noah, who was the 68th Grammy Awards host, made a flurry of comments about Trump.
Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues.
He also made comments about the president's relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Trump took to his Truth Social platform, saying he has never been to Epstein Island. He has branded Noah as a loser, adding that he's going to have some fun with him. More than 3 million documents were released on Friday that included mention of numerous powerful figures, including the 79-year-old president. Gold's trading at $4,556.85 an ounce. The rand's at 16.15 to the dollar, at 22.10 to the pound, at 19.13 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.09 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the R24 west towards the N12 merge. Please be on the lookout there. While travelling on the N3 south, delays between the Glulies interchange and Van Buren Road.
Look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy start to the week in Gauteng today, with scattered showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are set to peak at highs between 28 and 31 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: a new witness at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, Captain Lawrence Mahotle, has given details about ballistic evidence from the murder scene of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart, who was shot 23 times.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Nine minutes after 11 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. It's not Clement, it's Thabo. We are together till 12. So we have about 50 minutes or so to go. And feel free to just opine on any issues that we are raising at this point. In the previous half hour, we had a chat with Lebogang Ramaphosa, where she is the executive director of Corruption Watch, and we were speaking about the appointment of the new NDPP advocate Ndi Mutibi. We are taking a bit of a turn now because on this feature, Family Matters, that Clement has every Monday, and we will also continue to do the same because we do not move furniture. Today we're looking at parental absence, the impact of not being raised by biological parents.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
I'm sure we all know that it's quite common to find grandparents and other relatives such as your aunties, the gogos, uncles, cousins, brothers and sisters taking on the parenting role in many, many families that we come from. We have seen that it could have been as a result of someone passing away, a parent passing away or not being there, but being raised by individuals other than biological parents such as grandparents, adoptive parents, relatives or foster caregivers can have lifelong effects on a child's emotional, psychological, and social development. And while many thrive, some may develop attachment issues and in some instances identity crisis and a heightened risk of mental health struggles like depression and anxiety. I wanted to find out from you today, were you raised by relatives, grandparents, or people who were not your biological parents? How did it affect you? Or do you have a child being raised in this way? And whilst many of us were privileged to be raised by biological parents, single or otherwise, but someone who was not, it could be you, did it make a difference in your life when perhaps you went to school and other children spoke about mom, dad? What did it do to you? Did it affect you or you did not see it? I'd like us to jump into that space on family matters and share with us and open up to us about this sensitive issue. If it really had an impact, and what sort of impact did it have? Do you at times go back and think, I wonder what it would have been like to be raised by mom, by dad, as opposed to granny or aunt or uncle or a cousin or a brother? Do you wonder? And what does it do to you? I could just imagine that it could be devastating. The pain of losing a parent is like no other in the world. So I'm raising this for us to have this discussion and for us to interact around it. And feel free to share at any given time on the show today as we are engaging Dr. Dumi Mashego to guide us, to hold our hands, and to support us in this discussion, and to show us some blind spots that may exist. And at times we interact with people and we are not sensitive enough to some of the issues that may be holding them back in their backgrounds, and we just blurt stuff out and we hurt them without even knowing. And some people can absorb the blows and others perhaps act out in one way or the other. Let us know. Share with us on 011-883-0702. Or just send a voice note if you'd like to keep it brief, or you don't necessarily want too much interaction because it may be a bit of a sore point for you. Most welcome to do that. I just wanted to say that this is just a safe space on family matters. There are no judgments. I'd rather we utilize this time productively in trying to reach a little bit of healing. And of course, we can't heal everyone in just 45 minutes or so. But if we take few steps towards that, I think we would have done a lot. 011-883-0702. Clinical psychologist Dr. Dumi Mashego joins us right now. Dr. Mashego, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, and good morning to the listeners.
Appreciate your time. And I have just tried to paint a very, it sounds a bit sketchy and not so coherent introduction to our background here on family matters, on not being on the parental absence impact of not being raised by a biological parents. I know it happens, but what I don't know would be the impact thereof on an ordinary person. And I'm sure you'll say that it differs from one to the other. But give us those variances, please, if you will, Doc.
This is a very important topic because I think oftentimes people say, but you know, your mom wasn't there, your dad wasn't there, but you had your grandma who was there for you and they did the best that they could. So almost downplaying or invalidating what people feel. So, I mean, the reason why people are often raised by caregivers other than their parents, there's many factors, and I think you touched on some. Maybe one parent passed away, the other parent was not coping, both parents passed away, affordability, separation, work location. I mean, there's so many things, but also there are those irresponsible parents, right? And I call them because they are struggling to take responsibility for their offspring, and therefore it falls on the shoulders of the other caregivers in the family. So the circumstances are different for each person who was raised by caregivers, but the impact could be similar. And I think that's what is tricky about psychological things, is that, you know, maybe I was raised by my caregivers who were loving, and you were raised by caregivers who were not loving. And I, the one from a loving situation, sort of am struggling. I'm struggling as an adult because of what happened to me, and you are doing okay. So I think firstly, let's unpack what an emotional wound is, right? So a wound or trauma is not about what happened to you, but it's about what happens internally to you when that thing happens. So meaning both of us can go have the similar situations, similar circumstances, and I cope and you do not cope, or vice versa. And it doesn't make me weak or anything like that. It's because of what's happening internally. And what tends to happen is, especially when children are involved, children are moved from one caregiver to the other, but there's no conversation that's had with the child. What ends up happening is the child is just moved home, for example. Yes, the parent might try to, you know, talk to them or explain, but the child, you know, feels abandoned, might feel abandoned. And what children do, remember, children don't understand abstract things. So instead of hating their parents for doing this, they start hating themselves and blaming themselves and internalizing that it's their fault that now I have to be raised by someone else, especially if the parent is still alive, right?
Yeah.
So we also have to understand that we're talking about childhood traumas here, or the inner child, where children don't, you know, they struggle with it because they don't have the English or the capacity or the language for it, or the coping mechanisms. And I think that's what we need to understand, that, you know, yes, the children, you know, they're not the same, but what's going on internally with them. So they really need to be given that space to process what could be happening internally.
Is there an automatic chasm that exists between a child who is raised by a parent or a caregiver who's not their biological parent? A gap, a vacuous space, and somewhat of a vacuum of sorts that exists between the two, as opposed to a biological parent raising their child?
So it depends solely on, you know, certain factors, external factors, as in the person who steps in, you know, how do they treat this child? But also the child, what led to that situation, right? How did they cope or process what's happening to them? But definitely that connection with a biological parent, the child always yearns for it. Right. So, and sometimes they need to grieve that my biological parent does not have the capacity to raise me, and I need to really, you know, live without them or love them from afar, depending on what the circumstances are for that child. So definitely a grieving period is required, and hence it's such a sensitive situation for that baby, especially if they know who their parents are or what happened, you know, to get them to be raised by other people. So definitely and of course there are some children who are more sensitive, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how they are wired genetically, and also maybe they've been through so many traumas, or maybe they've been passed from parent or caregiver to caregiver because of this absent parent. So there's many factors that play a role, but definitely a biological bond that is meant to happen. The child needs to sort of be helped to process it. Then it will be a grieving process, which unfortunately we don't give children that.
Before we even get to a pronounced empirical and evidenced distance between a biological parent and a child, I'm just assuming, let me just make a crazy example. Well, no, it's not that crazy, but nonetheless, here we go. Take myself for one. I was raised by a very loving mom, extremely amazing. And assuming that I find out today that she was not my biological mom, I'm just asking that could there be anything psychological, emotional, and perhaps even physiological that could somehow be triggered simply because she was not my biological mom? Would there be any difference at all? Because I mean, if someone came to me and said, "Oh, by the way, she was not your mom. Your real mom is right over there," would I know in any way that there isn't that biological connection?
I think it's more that because maybe the mom who wasn't the mom, the biological mom, if they stepped in and raised the child well, they filled in that gap, and that child never felt any lack or any some type of way because of being raised by someone like that. But what might happen though is that the child might feel betrayed. Right, because now they get to find out, especially how they find out. And with relatives, sometimes it's a, by the way, that's not your mom, this is your mom. Somebody being spiteful or whatever. I mean, there are many reasons why people say and do things that they do. So also now the child might, or even the child who's an adult now, might feel betrayed, some sort of betrayal to say, but why was I not told the truth?
Yes.
Right? Yes. This person stepped in, but why was I not told the truth?
Yeah.
And also, why did mom leave me?
Yeah.
Right. So there might also now be feelings of, but why did she give me away if she's alive? And maybe she started a family and she seems like she's doing okay. But even if she's not doing okay, children or the inner child would have that question to say, but why did she leave me if she's there, she's alive?
Sure.
And then the adult child, or even the child, if they're still young, need to be helped to process those big emotions that they might be feeling, based on the revelation. But sometimes they get to the place where they accept that actually I was better off being raised by this lady here, who I know as my mother, because my biological mother does not have the capacity to raise me. So, but I think it's almost like we need to sit down and provide a safe space for them to process these emotions and come to a sense of some sort of understanding and perspective about, actually, maybe I was better off in this way because, wow, my biological mother is not okay, is unwell.
Let me ask this differently in a sense that a number of, especially in the Black communities, when a young lady gave birth to a child and the family felt that she was too young, and given the lack of a typical nucleus family TV definition, usually the grandmom would kick in and I don't want to say pretend, but take the role of a mother to both the mother of the child and the child. So much that the child would then grow up believing that the grandmother is a biological mother and their mother is a sister. And there are many of those instances in various townships, peri-urban areas, including even in rural areas. So much that even in the nomenclature of that family, the vocabulary, the lexicon of that family, and those communities, the grandmother would be called mama, and everyone would call the grandma mama, including the grandkids, because she's a matriarch in that particular home.
Yeah.
And an impression has been given that she's the only mother. Everyone else is a child, including this young lady who gave birth to this little one, and this little one sees the mom as a sister. What is the impact of that in a child specifically, and if you want to extend it to a family dynamic as years progress, Dr. Mashego?
It depends on how the grandmother was towards the grandchild. If they were loving, if they were, they really truly stepped in, when the mom was too young or could not take over, the child can be protected. So there are protective factors there from, causing detrimental mental health issues just because of their relationship and the experience for that baby. But once they find out that actually this is your sister, this sister, is actually your mom, that also needs to be a process that's done gently. Because sometimes the issue is it's not done gently. What happens is the mom decides, no, I'm ready to take care of my child. They take the child from this family. Now they must, start from scratch, basically.
Yes.
And the child is grown, and they think, you know what I mean? So I think it's also important how it's done, or what it means when the mom who was deemed young to take care of her baby now wants to take, charge, because that's what sometimes causes conflict. And that's where sometimes, the child themselves says, no, I want to go back to grandma. I prefer grandma than being here. So I think if the grandparents or whoever the caregiver that stepped in to take care, if they showed this child unconditional love, because that's what raises children, is unconditional love. And sometimes we think it's material things, but it's actually unconditional love that kids need.
Yes.
So if the child experienced that from a non-biological mother, that can be, a protective factor for that child. But of course, it's a different story whereby the one who stepped in was just going through their own things. They projected things onto this child, and this child constantly felt like, but is this my mom? Is this really my parent? And there's that longing, because why are you treating me so badly? Of course, then a child in that scenario might actually resent the mom once they find out who their biological mother is. So I guess what I'm saying is, it depends on the context and what the child experienced as a baby from the caregiver that stepped in.
Could it be that the child emotionally, psychologically, and physiologically experiences the pain of not having been raised by, or maybe not a pain, but experiences some sentiment, some emotion of not having been raised by a biological mom, biological dad, even when they go to school? Do they, despite the unconditional, overwhelming, warm emotions, I suppose wrapped up as love from the grandmother, from the aunt, from any other caregiver, but do they experience it nonetheless, because it's just not the same?
Definitely, there are some kids who struggle with that, and they function from a place of pain or a place of lack, because also the schooling system wants mom and dad's phone number, contact. They want mom and dad involved. There's a Father's Day celebration, there's a Mother's Day celebration, there's a Grandma's Day. There's a day for everything, and I'm always concerned that, do they actually support the children who do not have this ideal societal expectation of a mom and dad and a grandmother and a grandfather when they have these events at the schools? So I don't know if it's actually considered or something that the schooling system, the educational system actually thinks about. I mean, some of the kids, they've lost them, the parents, they passed on. It's not like it's a choice that they have. They don't have this choice. And I wonder, though, actually, if they offer that support. But definitely, yes, the child, especially because of society, social media, if they're functioning from a lack of a place of lack, or a place of pain, definitely it will impact them. And often they're not given the safe space to process those emotions. It's almost like they are told, you must be grateful, I'm raising you. I'm doing you a favor almost. I think really we need to prioritize children's feelings and talk to them and provide safe spaces for them to process. Even if you are doing your best as Thabo, you're trying to raise this child that's not yours, or you're trying to provide for them by working hard and giving them to grandma. We still need to understand that children don't have that logic. They don't understand abstract matters. They see it as abandonment. They see it as, you don't love me. They start hating themselves because of that. So really to prioritize them and provide safe spaces for children and not invalidate their experiences.
I'm finding this very fascinating, Dr. Tumi Mashego, and we are going to take news headlines in a short while. I would want us to explore how does that lack manifest itself in the teenager now who gets into the adolescent stage, in someone who then crosses the proverbial road or cross-section of on the other side of being a 21-year-old, someone who gets married and someone who is now older. If there is a perpetual trace of that lack that manifests itself psychologically, physically, or otherwise. I want us to touch on that after the news headlines with Dr. Tumi Mashego. I also invite, by the way, your calls, your WhatsApp messages, your voice notes to 072 702 1702, 11:30. Puleng Make is standing by to give us the very latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning. Welcome, Puleng.
Thanks, Tabo. Good morning. The state has opposed bail in the murder case of a University of KwaZulu-Natal student allegedly killed by her boyfriend. 23-year-old Themba Xaba will return to the Umlazi Magistrates Court to apply for bail today. The man accused of shooting Warwick Stock, known as DJ Juarez, has appeared before the Joburg Magistrates Court. Amindo Pakula, a 25-year-old Mozambican national, is facing charges of murder, conspiracy to commit murder and contravention of the Immigration Act. And a gunman linked to last month's mass shooting at a tavern in Cape Town is expected to appear in the Athlone Magistrates Court. Beki Mangliwa is allegedly among the trio that targeted 9 people in Marikana informal settlement in Philippi East. Now those are the headlines. The EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the N3 South, we've got delays between the Kilulis interchange and Van Buren Road. An accident has been reported along this route. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic on the N12 West towards the Kilulis interchange. If you are traveling towards the city of Tshwane, please be on the lookout for roadworks that are taking place along the R21 North approaching Oliphants-Fontaine Road. And then there's also slow-moving traffic in Amalgam along the M2 West between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. And that's your last traffic update from me, Mo Ramela. Stay tuned for more updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Water is a scarce resource. That dripping tap, that overwatered lawn, it all adds up. Johannesburg Water urges you to fix on property leaks, reuse grey water, and reduce unnecessary use. They're intensifying leak repairs and upgrading infrastructure to reduce losses. By working together in changing daily habits, water resources can be safeguarded and supply secured for future generations. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
When they say, let's align, you could book another Teams meeting or you could grab a spirit level and actually get things straight. Forget the corporate talk and join us from the 22nd of January to the 1st of March for the Chamberlain Back to Business promotion. Get amazing deals on everything you need to get going again, from paint mixing and power tools to hardware and building supplies. Plus, serious savings on sitewear for clothes that work as hard as you do. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Allianz Trade releasing numbers showing South Africa is actually one of the more difficult countries in the world in which to collect your unpaid invoices. Louis Delmour is the economist at Allianz Trade.
I think what's interesting is that what we've seen is that many emerging markets have actually been improving in the way they can collect their debt. But it's not the case for South Africa. South Africa actually, for the last 10 years that we've been doing this report, continues with the same score.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, returning as proud investment theme sponsor of the African Mining Indaba 2026. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
25 minutes to 12 o'clock. Welcome back. Thabo Shole Mashao. I'm with you all the way till 12 o'clock. We are happy to have you here with us on 702. Currently we're speaking to Dr. Dumi Mashego, clinical psychologist. And on family matters, we are looking at the issue of parental absence, impact of not being raised by biological parents. We asked earlier on, were you not raised or were you raised by biological parents? If you're not raised by biological parents, did it somehow impact itself otherwise in your life? How did it manifest itself? And how do you feel about it right now? Listening to this show, you are now an adult and you're realizing that you're not raised by mama, and the person that you thought ke o spuleng was mom all along. And how does this make you feel? Share with us on 702. You can just send a voice note as these other voice notes came through.
Good morning, Thabo, and your listeners. Of 702. Hey, this is a very sensitive issue. I usually even note my age. I'm turning 60 next year. I'm being a pensioner next year, but I'm still being hurt by being abandoned by my mother, brought up by my family, abused by aunts. You know? Yeah. My sister being abused by a male family member, a stranger who was adopted in the family. You know, it even ruined my career as an educator, the depression. I even lost my teaching job. But I am fighting the depression. I think I'm better, but I hear that I also hurt people when I talk. Apparently, my daughter has picked it up that, yo, mama, you just talk, you are not sensitive. Oh, it's a very painful issue because my mother is still hurting me even today.
Good morning, Thabo.
Morning.
Can I remain anonymous, please?
Sure.
I will not recommend any child to stay with a family member. I know that circumstances are different. We stayed with a family member, my mom's younger sister in Polokwane. Unfortunately, her husband violated us physically, emotionally, as well as mentally. And when we raised that with my aunt, we were told that we were lying until he physically violated my grandmother, who was 70 at that time. Then everybody realized that this was a serious matter. Then they started taking that serious. But meantime, we grew up as wounded kids. Thank you.
Sure. I'm terribly sorry to hear about all of that. And these are real life situations and real life pains and burdens that I carried emotionally, psychologically by people who've experienced them. Dr. Mashego, throwing it all to you.
So for the first voice note, really, it sounds like she really, struggled. And I always say to people that sadly, trauma is not our fault. The unfortunate part is that healing is our responsibility. That's the unfairness of life, that you didn't deserve the trauma. For both actually the voice notes, you didn't deserve the trauma, but I truly hope that you are prioritizing now that healing, and you're finding the right healers, the clinical psychologist and a psychiatrist for medication if there's a need, because there's many people out there unfortunately who are calling themselves healers, therapists. Please make sure it's a clinical psychologist who will help you with that depression and find that rapport. We are there in the public sector as well, and go see if there's a need for medication, please do take it, because if you've been exposed through so much trauma, what tends to happen is, your neurotransmitters, especially when you're diagnosed with depression, take a knock. And then that means, medication is part of your treatment, but please go there. And, that's an example of the first one, the first voice note is an example of how that saying that says, hurt people, hurt other people. And I add to that, even if you were unfairly hurt, sometimes unintentionally, meaning even if you were unfairly hurt, which you were, please make sure that you deal with that pain, because if you're not healing that pain, you will unfortunately project it. And that's how, the subconscious works. It just, that pain just sits in the subconscious and it will come out, in terms of how you react, the way you speak, the way you do things. But please, please seek that help, continue with that, even with the second voice note as well. Please get that help to process that pain that you didn't deserve, that, you didn't, but you shouldn't defined by it. You know, you
Yeah.
can still thrive in spite of where you come from.
Definitely, and I'm a big champion of that. That you can, despite all of that, you can still thrive. But let's take it 2 steps back, if you will, Dr. Mashego, where perhaps someone is still a teenager and this is still painful, and as to how it manifests itself, and people like myself would be screaming and calling them bullies and shouting and say children who are like this should not even come to school at all. They are bothering other children, and so on. But I'm wondering, and I'm not saying that's how it manifests itself, because I'm sure it differs. But I'm wondering about those young ones, how they are affected by this. Does it perhaps manifest itself in them being violent towards their peers, or overly compensating by being overly friendly? Share with us how this pain acts out.
So in teenagers, we usually see the rebellion that can come out of it, where this child is just not okay all the time. Because as I said, you know, the subconscious, the things you're experiencing, whether you are, no matter what age, they just sit there in your subconscious, and they will come out in how you behave, how you react, how you act, the things you say, you know, how you deal with people, the world, even yourself. So even for children, you know, if they're still teenagers, you could see, you know, if the behavior, there's something about it. Usually there's something happening. It's a reflection of what's happening internally within them, but also could be a reflection of what's happening at home, in the home system, or maybe they're learning this behavior from the home. So yes, it definitely will come out in the way they behave, and it can go both ways, where some of them, as you said, can be people pleasing, where they just are trying to just find love anywhere and anywhere, you know, from anybody, just, you know, willing to give them some sort of love, even that love is not good for them. So I think, we need to be aware that, you know, children, just because you've taken them in, you know, they still need to be allowed to grieve that mom who's not there, or that dad who's not there. And let's not invalidate their feelings. And sometimes, you know, we think they're being ungrateful, but it's not even about that. It's that internally, they've got big emotions that they need to process. They're just taking it that they're being rejected. They're feeling abandoned, even though they are surrounded by people. So, and if we allow that to proceed, it will manifest in their adulthood relationships. So it will impact them in the future when they are relating in adulthood, but also just how they relate with themselves. That will be impacted by this experience.
So, and how it impacts the relationships was going to be my next question, because with teenagers now, we have established, or youngish people, so to speak. But then as you grow up, you then get to interact with other people. Not only that, live with them, share your space with them. And your space, I don't just mean physical, but I mean emotional, psychological space with them. Can that have an effect at all in your adult relationships, where now there is a manifestation, perhaps untreated?
Definitely, that inner child, if they're not given the space to heal, it will definitely manifest, you know, in how you behave as an adult, and how you interact with people, how you speak to people, how you react and act, you know, and also how you feel about yourself. And just because externally we think someone has it all together, they want things in a straight line, they're working hard, we you know, they're just always constantly at work, does not mean that they're doing okay. It's usually a reflection of something going on internally, even if externally it looks like they have it all together. So I think we also need to understand that the behavior that we see in adults is often reflective of the pain that they're carrying within. Even though they are not acknowledging it or processing it, doesn't mean it's not being projected in how they interact. So those highly anxious people, some of them, they feel they're not good enough, their self-esteem, you know, even in spite of the evidence of how great they are in their work or in life, it's just never, they feel not good enough because of what happened to them. They really sometimes overextend themselves. They have no boundaries because, you know, they feel like they felt, you know, they were so traumatized in their childhood. So we really need to understand that, you know, whatever it is, however you are behaving now, just because something happened to you when you were 3 years of age, doesn't mean that time has made it vanish. And I think that's the difficulty with psychological issues, is that they sit and wait for you until you have the capacity to sit with them. They don't go away.
Yeah.
And the day you open that,
Sorry. The day you open
it
up.
feels like. Yeah. So I was saying, the day you open that 3-year, that, you know, when the trauma you experienced when you were 3 years of age, it feels like it's still fresh, because it is.
I wanted to extend that towards the workplace and interactions perhaps outside intimate relations, and how that could affect how you carry yourself in a workplace, how you lead people, how you manage that professional environment if those elements don't creep out and you become an ultra-crepidarian of sorts. In that particular space, and because I suspect it would manifest itself in all facets of your life. But Dr. Mashego, let's come back to that in a short while. It's 14 minutes to 12 o'clock. Please feel free to share your views, your experiences, opine on what we are chatting about. Dr. Dumi Mashego is clinical psychologist. She's helping us to really traverse these murky spaces of parental absence, impact of not being raised by a biological parent or biological parents. Are you one of those? How did it affect you? Do you see it creeping out? And how does it affect other people? Kindly share with us. It's always a safe space here on 702 13 to 12.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
It's official. Auto in General covers the world's best drivers. We're proud to be an official tournament partner of Live Golf South Africa 2026, the first on African soil. Stand to win tickets to the event and your share of 100,000 Rand. Here's to a world-class tournament. And the insurer that never misses. Auto in General. Never not there. Auto in General is the licensed non-life insurer and FSP T's and C's online.
Every home begins with an idea to build smarter, stronger, and to last generations. That idea comes to life at the Summit on Innovative Building Technologies. Catch the Clement Manyathela Show live from the Nasrec Expo Center this Tuesday for all the highlights and updates from the summit, where tomorrow's built environment takes shape. Find out how smart building materials and advanced construction methods are shaping sustainable and resilient communities across SA. That's the Clement Manyathela Show, live from the Summit on Innovative Building Technologies on Tuesday, 3 February, brought to you by the Department of Human Settlements on 702.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
12 to 12 on 702. My name is Thabo Shole Mashao. I'm in for Clement. We're together till 12, so just about 10 minutes to go. I'm really appreciating your company. I know a number of you have been sharing openly, making yourselves vulnerable, and sharing your emotional space with us. I really, really appreciate it. I don't take it lightly at all. And I'm hoping that as you speak about it, it helps you as much as it may help others who are listening as well, knowing that they are not the only ones going through this, but they can also find solace in the fact that there is solidarity and there is help out there. Dr. Dumi Mashego, clinical psychologist, is my guest, and we're speaking about parental absence, impact of not being raised by biological parents or a biological parent. Share with us your views on 072 702 1702.
Good morning. I hope I can find the correct words. For me, the adoption, I was adopted in the early 60s, and later on in life discovered and made inquiries and started searching, and I found out that it was due to religion and the shame of being unmarried in the 60s, and a grandmother clearly who was not prepared to take on a grandchild who insisted on making my biological mother give up me for adoption. And later on, discovering also that my biological mother went on to get married and have her family and live happily ever after. I don't mean to sound bitter, but it certainly does cause, and I'm in my 60s now, it certainly does cause mental illness, addiction, because you just never feel this, and you do continue, and I've been to many therapies and tried to deal with it, but you just continuously have this abandonment feeling and not being good enough. And because of religion and their shame, that was why I was given away. And I was so blessed to have the most dearest and wonderful mother who gave her life up for me. And may her dear soul rest in peace. I love you, Mom.
Oh, man. Quite heavy. I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm really, really sorry about that. And it can't be easy, as we can all hear that it's still affecting you today. And it's a journey. It's not going to be just one event. It's a journey towards healing. I pray that you get there, but one day at a time. Dr. Mashego, I don't know if you want to share your thoughts on that one.
I think the caller, it has been through a lot, and I'm glad though she did have, the adopted mother who was able to show her love that can exist. And, I think it's an example of how there is no logic when it comes to emotional things. Like, we can sit with, the religious people or whoever, the grandmother, the biological grandmother, and and talk about it and ask why they didn't search for her later, and so it's so difficult because our brain wants logic, but with emotional things there is no logic. We can sit here and they can tell us it was the religion, but it's still not good enough. You should have fought more, right? So I think that's also the difficulty of dealing with abstract emotional stuff, is that there is no logic and there is really no excuse for what happened. Now you need to then process what happened, but not with logic, but more to just process the emotions so they don't, consume you, because then they can consume you.
They can, and it's not a given that you'll survive it. It's really not a given, and people tend to think that if someone managed to survive that space, everyone else can. We're not the same. We are just not the same. 7 minutes to 12 o'clock. I'm just, Doc, I'm going to take 2 voice notes. Then I'll come back to you so that we can conclude and perhaps offer 1 or 2 outlooks as to what can be done. 072-702-1702.
Hi, Thabo. Good morning and lovely show and lovely topic. Thabo, at some point in my life, I was in primary. My mom was working away, like far away from home, and she would come back like once a month. And myself and my brother were being raised by our grandmother, my mom's mom. And to be quite honest with you, at no point did it feel like my mom was away, just because of the warmth and the love that our grandmother was showing us. And we knew that she was not our mother, it was Granny, and then we'll call her Kuku. And and eventually my mom got a job nearby and she came back. But during that time when she was not around, well, everything was just normal, and I don't think it had any negative impact on us. But obviously we would miss her, but because of the love that we were getting from our grandmother, it sort of like made it easier to navigate. And it's not something that when we look back now, we like it was dark times of our life or something like that. It was actually very smooth, and I don't think any of us do regret. Thank you, Moraro and Captain Park.
Oh, Moraro.
Hi, Thabo. For me, I was raised by my aunt, and I don't think the treatment was ever worse off compared to other children. But then there was a point in my life that she didn't take me to school for like 2 years until my mom came back and I went back to school. but that was the lost 2 years of my life. And growing up from that point, I've always been older than my peers, older than my classmates. And that was not very accommodating. It was better when I went to university. You know, university gets to be less discriminating. But of course, I was older than I studied with people who are younger than I am. And getting married, I got married at 25, 26. And that was the only time in my life when I felt like I belong. I married young, and it did have some sense of now you belong, now you are younger than your married people. And that's my story.
I can't thank you enough for sharing, for opening up, for being so vulnerable with us. I can't thank you enough because you're also helping others to come to terms with dealing with this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dr. Dumi, in about 20 seconds, as we wrap up, over to you.
The second voice note, I just want to, ask them or wonder if they actually sought help because they felt they didn't belong because of age. And I don't know if it was society giving that or if it was their own stigmatization. So they were stigmatizing themselves for being older. I wonder if they have dealt with it and really truly feel, like they belong. The irony is, I was on the flip side of that is that, Mandy can attest to this. I was always 2 years younger than everyone. So I finished school quite early, but, it was never a thing for me because I sort of made peace with it and, did the work within. But, for her, I wonder if she's actually overcome that.
Sure.
But definitely trauma is never our fault, but healing sadly is always our responsibility. And the thing you don't heal, the thing you suppress, repress, avoid, you will project. So be aware of what's going on internally. Have that self-awareness, and it's never too late to become the best version of yourself in spite of the traumas that you've been through.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dumi Mashego. Really appreciate it. Moraro, thanks for that voice note as well. 2 minutes to 12.
You can become a victim of a legal problem, wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts services, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
There's towing a boat to the lagoon for the weekend. And then there's towing a boat with your Ford Everest. With tow haul mode and Pro Trailer Backup Assist, you're not just a driver, you're making it look easy. That's peak living in the Ford Everest, starting from only $837,500. Includes our Ford Family Promise with our Ford Courtesy Fleet, keeping your adventure moving. Visit your nearest Ford dealer today. T&Cs apply.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
She's on between 12 and 1 Midday Report. You don't want to miss it. Mandy Wiener. Mandy, hope you're good.
Very good, thank you. Good to be here.
What's coming up on the show?
Advocate Andy Mutibi starts his first day of work as NDPP today. He's facing a court challenge to his appointment. We'll find out about that. A second man is appeared in court for the DJ Warris murder. A ballistics expert is appearing at the Madlanga Commission today. The Epstein files revealing that Jacob Zuma had a dinner with Jeffrey Epstein. And we'll wrap up the weekend sport. Lots to talk about.
Can't wait. 12 and 1, Mandy Wiener, Midday Report. Thanks for sharing space with us. Thanks to the team. And thanks to you.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Puleng Make. A new witness at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, Captain Lawrence Makgotlwe, has given details about ballistic evidence from the murder scene of Verneging engineer Ahmad Swart, who was shot 23 times. Makgotlwe is currently giving